Hey guys, this is Paul. I'm here with Trevor, and we're heading out to Simply Solventless's Humble Grow facility. We want to check out the operations and see how things are looking, and we're talking about potential expansion of their facility. So looking forward to seeing what we've got for the day here. As a refresher and reminder why we like Simply Solventless. A lot has to do with the fact that we think the cannabis sector is turning. It was out of favor. We're starting to see capital return back into the space, and certainly so the capital cycle is now much more favorable to suppliers like Simply Solventless. Simply Solventless as well has been able to take advantage and acquire a number of the distressed assets that's been prevalent in the industry over the last couple of years, and because of that has been able to grow pretty rapidly. We think they've built a great platform to grow through acquisition as well as organically, and what we're going to see today hopefully is a good sign of some of that organic growth. The other thing that we appreciate in the industry right now is the past oversupply of product that resulted in basically no new capacity being funded. Actually, until very recently, those with capacity and expansion ability now are much better able to take advantage of the shortage of supply and the resulting increasing prices. The other thing we like about the company as well is a highly vested management team. We've even seen some recent buying that indicates that they're taking advantage of pricing. The stock has recently stumbled due to some accounting issues and the loss or the breakup of the acquisition of the Cannabis Capital facility. And we think that these recent stumbles in share price have caused or created another mispricing situation and possibly a very strong buying opportunity, hence why we're going out to see the facility and see it for ourselves. And because of those stumbles as well, it looks like management are now pretty focused on cash flow generation, and we think if they can demonstrate success in improving that cash flow, investors will be forced to reevaluate the upside potential. So what we have here sort of in summary is a company with a market cap roughly $40 million, enterprise of roughly $48 million, and a business that has grown from approximately $4 million in revenue in 2022. They did roughly $6.5 million in 2023. 2024 they did $20.5 million, and it looks like so far this year they're on track for at least a run rate of $48 million in 2025. And then you have management calling for $12.8 million in adjusted EBITDA. Of course, investors will want to see cash flow generation. I think if we do see that, you're going to see a significant re-rating in the share price. And with the company right now trading at where it is at roughly 35 cents, you're looking at an enterprise value of roughly 4 times or less to their annualized adjusted EBITDA. So we'll give you a bit more update and a better idea of what we think after the presentation and the site evaluation. So that's all for now. We'll chat with you soon.
Trevor, this is Alexa.
Hey, Alexa, pleasure
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure. Jeff, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Good, you too. Hi, my name is Jeff Swainson. I'm president and CEO of Simply Solventless Concentrates. We're here at Humble with the amazing team. Of course, Humble is an asset that we acquired in February 2025. They've done an incredible job here to ramp the operation and have a really strong cash flowing steady state business. And we're about to ramp revenue even more with a $2.5 million retrofit to double production. And so let's go on a tour.
Hi, I'm Ananth Krishnan, Chief Financial Officer at Simply Solventless. I've been with the company now for one day. It is my second day at Simply Solventless. I spent the last 6 years running different areas of the finance function at Aurora Cannabis. So I've been in the cannabis industry for a while now, but I'm really enthused and excited to be joining Simply Solventless.
Hello everybody, my name is Bobby Baines.
Alexa Gertzen.
We both started on the same day, February 28th, 2018, and we've been here the entire time at Humble Grow. I'm previously Delta 9. I'm head of cultivation.
I guess the president of Humble Grow.
Hi, I'm Lance. I run the vegetative and nursery operations here at Humble Grow. I've been here for 8 years and I have a team of 6 people.
Thank you. My name is Devin Caron. I've been with Humble for about 7 years. My responsibilities are looking after the flowering department, so we take the plants from the nursery. We do all the scheduling for the maintenance, the harvesting, and so on, and we look after them for about 9 weeks, and then they get chopped down and goes on to post-harvest.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Sinclair Ritchie. I've been with Humble for 5 years. I'm in charge of the post-harvest team. So we take the flower from Devin's team, we buck it, we trim it, and then we put it into bulk pack bags that you saw there at the start. We've got a team of 12 people.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Humble Grow. We are a licensed producer of cannabis in Winnipeg, Manitoba. We operate in the Transcona neighborhood, and this is our cultivation site. I'm going to take you on a bit of a tour and give you insight onto what we do here Monday to Friday. No. So we're going to enter the north side of the building. Traditionally, we start on the other side because that's where the history has started of Humble Grow. But we'll start from this side, and I can take you through the cultivation stages that we go through, and it'll give you a brief idea of how we operate, schedule, and run our production facility. So we'll skip this part because this is actually the last part, but we'll head over to H block. So you'll notice when you walk through the building, we have different sections. Those are broken down alphabetically. On the south side is A, B, C, and D. And on this side, on the far side, is E, F, G, and H. Each section is broken down into 4 blocks. Generally, each of the blocks has 9 containers, but because the roof slopes at some ends, some have 7, some have 8, but generally about 80% of the building's 9 containers. So block H was traditionally a flower block, but what I quickly convinced everybody was to sacrifice this block to get one more harvest out of A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So we've converted this block into a veg block and a propagation block. So we have a few clone rooms. We have 2 clone rooms on this side. The clone rooms provide enough cuttings to replenish the mothers and do all the veg. So we'll give you a brief look inside the clone room. There's 2 staff in there, so we'll skip that because I don't want to surprise them. And there's none in here. So we have, at any point, we are running 4 genetics to fill all the rooms, which is about 8 mother rooms. The mother rooms are scattered throughout the facility, so there's traditionally no general one location they're in. So from our mother batches, we cut clones. The clones come to 2 rooms, H101 and H104. Here they spend an average of 2 weeks propagating roots. You can see they're housed here in easy plugs. Easy plugs have 64 clones per site. And the reason we selected those is because they come pre-packaged, which allows us to water them and maintenance them for free, essentially. It requires no maintenance. One of the things we want to have the staff understand is lean manufacturing, costs of production, and the cost per gram. So one thing we realized is these are very easy for us and quick for us to maintenance. Water as opposed to traditional rock wool, which dries unevenly. So these are broken down into batches. If you come here, you can see that this rack has one particular batch. Luminariums on this side. We generally cut around 1,500 clones per batch, but if they're going into an 8 block or a 7 block, we'll bring it down to the numbers. So that's one batch right there. On this side is another different batch. That's Grape Burger, right? So you can see all of these are capable of holding around 6 batches per clone room, but traditionally we don't need that much. But if we were ever expanded to more facility, we could house those here. So it's actually pretty impressive that we can house 60 days of cultivation that fill this entire building in just 2 clone rooms. So they spend 2 weeks here.
Bobby, just a question. How many clones would you cut to go into a flowering room?
Yeah.
And how many clones are needed? Like how many more do you cut than you need?
We traditionally like to cut about 10% over. So we cut around 1584 to fill a 9, and that fills around 1360. We do that because realistically some don't root, some root not as well as others, and you want the clones to get a good start, because a good start in cultivation is always the beginnings of good harvest. Really, you want your veg and you want your clone to be the safest place for biosecurity, for power outages, for any concerns, because a loss of 2 rooms can affect the loss of 256 rooms. So this actually is the heart of the grow. So it's very important to keep this clean, biosecurity, as minimal visitors as possible. You want one person to run it. We have an employee named Lance McCulley who's been here longer than I have and Alexa has. He's been in charge of our clones for over 6 years. He's very dedicated to the team. He's very dedicated to the process. So we trust him with everything here. So after 2 weeks, what we do is we fill the veg room. Now, if you look down here, you'll see that we have 9 grow pods. That's one block. Each of those house between 120 and 150 plants, depending on the genetic, the setup, and generally how much we want. Some plants do well with space, whereas you can crowd others. So you can see we're limited in our space here. So the only way we could fill 9 of those pods is by going vertical. So we designed a 3-tier system that has LED lights and the grow bags in here. We grow under 1 gallon cocoa grow bags. We have 1 drip emitter per bag. And again, the plants will spend 2 weeks here. In that 2 weeks, they'll get an average about 4 water irrigation cycles events, and they'll be trained here. Training means essentially you're topping, you're shaping the plants to be delivered into the flower blocks. So one thing that's unique about our facility that other facilities may not have is the sheer amount of rooms. For us to maintain any sense of scheduling, we have to be razor sharp on our schedules. So that means we clone, we transplant from the clone room to the veg room, we transplant from the veg room to the flower blocks every Monday, Wednesday, Friday religiously. If it's a holiday, we'll have the clone team come in and we'll have a team come in for the harvest and everything. But if one of those days falls out of schedule, there's a trickle-down effect where everything falls out of schedule. So 14 days in there, 14 days in here. Right now we have a team harvesting and we have a team moving. So somewhere in the facility, they've moved a batch from here into a batch that was harvested 2 days ago. Our downtime between batches is around 72 hours. If it's a weekend, it'll be a day longer just because we can't do it on the weekends. But we don't have any blocks down for more than 3 days. And that's the only way we can operate efficiently. One of the reasons we have to operate like that is Alexa's responsibility is sales. She has to be able to predict what we're going to sell, how much of it we're going to produce, and how much the potency range is. So she works with the cultivation team 6 months out to schedule all of our batches. So in 6 months, she will say, I want to grow this much grape burger, this much luminarium, this much whiteout, or this much scoops. And then we're able to forecast where it goes, what day it'll be cut, and when it'll be transplanted. I can essentially tell you 6 months out when a batch will be harvested at Humble Grow. So that's one of the things that we're really proud of, and that's one of the things I think people often overlook is that kind of manufacturing, that lean manufacturing. And we are a grow, but we're actually a manufacturing facility, right? So downtime, scheduling, forecasting is kind of what we need to be successful here. So after they spend 2 weeks here, they're moved into the production facility. You'll realize that we have 2 floors here, and that wasn't actually anybody's plan. That's just the way it was designed. Our staff start at 8 p.m. and they work till 4:30. The lights are on from midnight to noon, and then from upstairs from noon to midnight. That means the staff can come in at 8, work 4 hours on the main floor wherever they're forecasting the work to be done. They get the 30 minutes for lunch, and then upstairs they get the equivalent for 4 hours. That also helps for hydro usage. We get to balance the hydro usage out. We also don't produce a mass amount of heat, and it helps for scheduling. It's very easy for us to schedule. So the downstairs is actually all offline now because it's afternoon, so all the staff are working upstairs. So do you guys want to do a lap around the main floor and then head upstairs? Yeah. Sure. So it's pretty straight up. We have traditional blocks. So these are 9 and 9. This side consists of almost all LED. And the reason that is I started here in 2018. In 2018, LED cultivation was still in its infancy. There wasn't a lot we understood. LEDs were essentially created to lower the amount of power and cooling that you needed in a traditional black market. So everybody thought about efficacy. What's the most efficient type of lighting, right? They didn't really think about what's best for the plants. How can we lower power, lower AC requirements? So when you go over to that side, you'll notice a lot more HPS light bulbs. That's because that's the first side that we populated. So this side is all HPS, and it's matured as the industry and technology has matured. Traditionally, you've seen a lot of blue and purple lights because those deliver the most amount of photons for the least amount of wattage. But traditionally, that's not what plants want. Plants don't care about how much your hydro bill is. Plants need a full spectrum. So as the industry matured, the lights got full spectrum, and you started seeing that dip away from the blue and purple and towards that bright white light, which is more traditional. So when these lights are on, you'll see different types of lighting spectrums, and that's just how the industry kind of matured. So this is H block. We found through our batch summary is a large Excel file of every batch we've grown in the last 3 years. That's a really good tool for Alexa and for our executive team to say expectations out of H 101 to G101 to 109 when you're growing aluminarium are this much, right? So we can break it down into strains, down into blocks, down to potency, and see how the team and me are doing essentially. So this entire floor is LED lights. It's all offline now. But one of the things that we realize is we're able to kind of be as efficient and successful because we have a lot of history and documentation and data. So the luminarium that we grows really well under these types of lights, right? So you'll find other strains like our purple octane does really well on this side. And we traditionally don't grow much scoops on this side. Our scoops actually grows really well under HPS and with a bit hotter temperature. We found the data suggests that we should grow it in the summer because summer traditionally is a bit warmer here for us. So we're able to schedule it all through the mother cuttings, the scheduling, the clones, and land exactly where we want the batch to land. So this is the, yeah.
Can you explain a little bit about the data collection that you use to make those decisions? Like how is it collected, what's collected?
Yeah, so Alexa knows what our cost of production should be and what our monthly costs as an organization are. Obviously, every organization's goal is profit. So Alexa will be able to say, I've spoken to these brokers and these buyers, and in 6 months I know I have the appetite for scoops, which ranges from 23 to 27, luminarium, which we have contract manufacturing for, and a purple octane that gets 28 to 31. Now our scoops outproduces our purple octane, but Alexa builds that all into her sales forecast, and she gets that all from the batch summary. In the batch summary is essentially, like I said, 3 years of data that tells how much to expect, what the potency should be, where it should go, and she's yields, everything like that. She's able to forecast, even seasonal. We can see dips in seasonal activity, right, where we may get a little more loss of clones because it's warmer here, or we may see a plant stretch more, or the potency dips down. So we're able to take all that data and essentially forecast an entire year or 2 years worth of sales for Alexa. So we're held accountable by Alexa, and she's held accountable from her team of where are we, why are we dipping in sales, why did we exceed sales, what can we forecast, how much should we be profitable this month. All that's in our batch summary. Alexa can sit you down later and show you the batch summary. It's actually amazing because our executive team's in a different city, but they can still break it down by block, by cultivar, by strain, by season, by anything we want. We have about 30 KPIs or data points that we can break it down and shrink or expand, and it'll give them insight on how we're doing here. Should we go to the other side first, or should we go? Okay. So you can see this is just flower rooms. These are off, but I'll take you to the other side too, as we can walk by, and then we'll go upstairs and I can show you. Yeah. They're offline right now. Yeah. But we can do that at the end. So you'll see these kind of arteries. These are the main hallways, and the arteries are kind of storage areas for staff to sit. That's the sanitation desk. So you can see they on the whiteboard, they have all their schedules built out of what labor they're going to need, where, what day, when we need it replanted, so they can schedule what they need to do to meet our goals. Stuff like here, we have these on the Dunadrax, just because our SOPs, we're not allowed to put stuff on here. Sanitation team puts all these here for us, so we can grab them and go, so there's no downtime between batches or expected labor that we need. So now you'll see that we have these pods going in a different direction than the flower pods. These are all of our support pods. These are our drying rooms. These are our bucking rooms where the flower is bucked by the staff. We have some labs. We have our curing rooms, and these run a different direction. We have the whole top floor is our mother rooms. So that's where the mother rooms are, which fill the clone rooms. We want to dedicate as much space in the flower blocks to flower, and the support pods give us the amount of support we need to fill those blocks. We will see if any of them are full. Yeah, we have a luminarium. No, there's no luminarium in there. None here. We'll show you the drying rooms upstairs. There's just the grape burgers are, yeah. So these are one of our traditional drying rooms. This was actually a kit we purchased called Dry Flower, and we kind of just reverse engineer it here and build it ourselves now with a laser printer. All the flowers are chopped down into branches. We try to get as equal as we can into height, just so they're evenly dry. Everything's controlled by an environmental controller. We have humidifiers, we have dehumidifiers.
It smells really nice.
Yeah, it's a great strain. It yields really well. And one of the reasons we like this flower, this strain particularly, is we average about 90% large flower compared to small. One of the things that's often overlooked in cultivation, I believe, is genetic selection. It has to be low labor. It has to have a large amount of, the ratio of larges to smalls have to work, and it has to go through our post-harvest. We've had a lot of really good genetics that are either high labor, very leafy, the ratio of large to small was something that we couldn't get sales for, or just the post-harvest was very labor intensive, right? So this is actually a strain that we do really well with. It's very low cost. I believe in our retrofit rooms from the start to the end of the cultivation cycle, the rooms are about 5 hours of labor each, which is very low. And some of our strains like Luminarium requires about 9 hours. And when you put that across 256 grow rooms after a full year, that adds up to a lot of hours wasted. So one of the things we look for in genetics is that low labor. Here we have a couple of genetics that we're growing from seed, and that's one of the requirements I have from any of our genetics, is they're very low labor.
So Bobby, when you say 5 hours, 5 hours per what interval?
Essentially from clones to transplant to defoliation to cut down. Those are the kind of the four major jobs we have in cultivation. Trellis is a very small job that usually goes in minutes, but I'm talking about when the team actually has to go there and perform work that's assigned and scheduled. Trellis is very flexible.
Per harvest?
Yeah, per room per harvest. So the Great Burger requires about 5 hours per room, which is really low. So that also helps in the cost per gram. Which is very important because that's where all the profit is. So yeah, we've gotten rid of a lot of high labor genetics that are really good genetics. This doesn't work for our program.
Bobby, maybe later we can discuss just specifically the retrofit
Yeah, of course.
and how that's going to unfold.
Absolutely. So now you'll feel a bit of a temperature difference on this side, and it's a bit cooler. That's because we're running LEDs on this side, and the LEDs that we're running are the newest kind of generation of LEDs that we've designed. In 2023, when the market and the industry was kind of a lot more turbulent, we forced to do layoffs. And one of the things that I was given the responsibility is, how can we reduce the amount of staff and plants but maintain the same type of output? And what I was saying to them is, traditionally now you can do that with better technology. You can do that with retrofitted lights, which are better spectrum, deliver more photons per watt, get you larger and more dense flowers. So when I walk you through, you'll see some of our grow pods only have one row. That one row only has 9 lights over it. What I found is we were able to get the same amount of flower or close from 9 lights of better technology versus 15 lights in a full room of older technology. So that allowed us to keep the same amount of less staff after the layoffs, but deliver the same amount of flower. Less cost, less grow bags, less labor, which was on our responsibilities. In 2014, after the market was kind of in its death spiral and started going up, we rehired a lot of the staff and started refilling the rooms. But we left those rooms as is, as kind of a template or a test area to run of what we would need to do a full retrofit. So I can show you that as well. So now we're on the south side of the building. This was the original side that we've populated. These were the original grow containers. So you will see more HPS lighting on this side, which was the first type of lighting we used. Again, this is the same artery. There's just one retaining wall in between the production areas that separates them. So the south side and north sides don't have anything fundamentally different other than just a wall separating them. These are also old offices, drying rooms, HR rooms, accounting rooms that we aren't cultivating in. One of the goals we have is actually to take the first block I showed you, which was the H block, the veg rooms and the clone rooms, and populate this and bring the H block back online for flowering. That would add about $1.5 million per year for us, and we require essentially no less labor. So that's something we're looking at down the line at the end of the retrofit, but right now we're not there yet. So I'll take you to the second floor now. So yeah, again, this is an artery. You can see the staff's desks are down there. On the next artery, it's the IPM team and the QA team sitting there. So we try to fill areas we can for the staff. Yeah, we got to get in where we fit in. So this is upstairs. Yeah, I know. Okay. Okay, so now we're on the second floor of the south side. Now you're gonna get a different kind of image of what the grow looks like. You're gonna see a lot more of our heat mitigation and our cooling system. You can feel the breeze. We cool the grow in 3 different ways. Right here you can see this giant duct running on top of the grows. So that actually doesn't cool, that has no cooling capacity. That's heat mitigation. So what we're doing is we're taking the heat from the lights and we're running it through giant fans, and those have an automatic dampener system, kind of a, what's the way I would want to use it? Yeah, so it's a dampener system that we design that shares the heat from the lights with the external heat and gives us the exact temperature we want to run it on. So these are all controlled here. It's my responsibility and Ben, who's in our maintenance department, to set the data points all here. So you can see the air leaving the lights is 32 degrees. It's coming back in and it's being mixed with the outside air, and it's coming in at 25 degrees. You can see the diverters and all those are diverting the temperature outside, so you'll see it range in different ways. The second way we cool the grow is through that system right there. You can see up top, you can see the white water lines coming in. That water, which is about 14 degrees or 13 degrees depending on the season, comes in, goes through that and hits a giant core, like a copper core. That water cools that copper core, and the fan drops that cold air into the grow to cool the grow, right? So we actually have no refrigerant-based cooling in here. It's kind of all geothermal based on water. And the last way we do it is these core chillers here. It's the same technology. There's a container outside that has a giant core, and cold water runs over it. We set the set point we want, and it auto cools and turns on and off all day. So that's how we cool the grow. These are all the places that we need to set the data from. And it's my responsibility to make sure the grow stays temperature wise. It's a little trickier in the summer on this side particularly because of the HPS lights. The HPS lights have a lot more heat they use. So part of the retrofit is once we do a retrofit, we'll actually be able to turn off one air conditioner per grow pod. Right now we have 2 air conditioners per grow pod. That will also drop our amount of heat we're producing into the building. And we will be going from 9,000 watts of lighting being used around down to 4,100 watts post retrofit. So we're dropping the wattage of the lights half, and we're dropping the demand from the air conditioners in half. So we should see a massive influx, a massive reduction in our electrical bill too. So I'll show you 3 different setups we have here. So this is a traditional HPS. We have 15 lights running on both sides of the room, and this was in our original design. This is
Interrupting for a sec. Bob, there's a grape burger here that looks amazing, and a grape burger on the other side that looks amazing.
Yeah, I'm going to show them each one of the lighting technologies. So this is the Olding lighting technology we have. Was used for decades by people that grew cannabis. It's HPS grow lights. The lighting technology came from the greenhouse industry. It's tried and true. A lot of people still use it. I love it, but it's inefficient for growing cannabis cultivation, and it costs a lot more to produce flower this way. There's a lot of heat being produced by the lights opposed to LEDs. And there's also a lot more cooling required to cool this type of grow. So this traditionally uses around 9,000 watts of lighting. Our ACs run both. And when we do the retrofit, we go down to 4,000 watts, and we only need 1 air conditioner running. We've actually realized from this setup at 9,000 watts to the retrofit at 4,000 watts, we've doubled the yield. So we go from an average of about 6 kilos to an average of about 11 to 13 kilos retrofit. So for us, it's a no-brainer. We're using half the electricity, same amount of grow bags, same amount of labor, same amount of staff, same amount of post-harvest, but our yields are twice as much. So earlier I spoke to you guys about how during the layoffs, I was given the responsibility of maintaining our production, but lowering the amount of staff and costs. So these rooms right here, have full spectrum LEDs. Full spectrum LEDs are great because essentially what you're doing is you're mimicking the sun spectrum. It goes all the way from 400 nanometers to 780 nanometers. You know, you get blue, green, yellow, red, which is everything the sun provides for the plants. So in one of these retrofits, we have 9 lights. They're 500 watts each. So you can see we reduced it to about 4,500 watts, and we were able to produce the same amount of flower through the density, the amounts of genetic selections of high yielding strains, and we were able to reduce labor by 50% and goods, grow bags, water usage, nutrient by 50%, and still hit the output the company required to stay afloat. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 blocks that are retrofitted into this singular block. We have one behind it. This is the same genetic that we just seen in the HPS room. One of the things you'll notice is these plants are a lot shorter, even though they're the same genetics. The internode space is a lot tighter in these. The plants initiate flower a lot quicker. The flowers are a lot more dense. And because of that density, we're able to, it helps the post-harvest and the trim easier. Small or medium-sized, large, dense flowers are easier for our post-harvest. So anything that comes out of these retrofitted blocks, we save about 40% of post-harvest costs too, as opposed to traditional lighting where they're not as dense and they're not as small. Okay, where do we want to go next? Okay, let's go. So we'll go over to our fertigation room. Well, you're behind me. Yeah, so this is traditional. That's the A block, B block, C, and D. The staff, I don't see any of their water bottles, so I can't actually tell you where they are right now. I'm sure they're on the other side cleaning up. It's just grape burger that just flowered.
Are there any close to harvest that we can show them?
Yeah, we just showed them the close. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The grape burgers were close flower, yeah. So we'll head this way. We'll go back downstairs. This is another artery like I spoke about earlier. This has our QA team and our IPM team sitting here.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah. So this is our fertigation room. There's only a few people allowed to enter this, and there's only 2 people that we have that have the ability to actually work on the fertigation. So at first sight, it looks actually very complicated, but it's actually not complicated whatsoever. These 5 tanks here represent our concentrates. So these are a very high strength solution of any of our nutrients, and these are our recipe tanks. This is actually what's delivered to the plants every day. So what happens is there's a sensor right here. You'll see a minimum fill line. When we have programmed feedings and this recipe tank is feeding the blocks that we are asking it to feed, this will be reduced, and when it gets here, that sensor will ask to be refilled. Once that sensor asks to be refilled, the nutrient on this side that fills this will actually just travel to this nutrient mixing station. The nutrient mixing station will have that fresh water tank deliver the fresh water and mix with the nutrient that's asking filled up. It'll pH adjust on the fly. Its EC is checked on the fly. Anything without the parameters I've set, I'll get an alarm if it's not. So if I set something at 2 EC or 3 EC, if it goes under by 10%, I'll get an alarm. That way we investigate why is it not filling up. So you can see right now the calcic's being filled. So the calcic concentrate is traveling to the mixing station, meeting water in this column. It's mixing it and refilling this calcic tank. This calcic tank, through a fertigation software called Argus, is pumped out to the facility with the calcic pump. So it's actually very straightforward. I like to explain it in terms of a bartender. This is the hard alcohol, this is the drink, and that's the bartender that mixes it together and delivers it. So this is the software that we use. It's called Argus. So right here you can see these 5 tanks are represented on the screen. We can see from our desks or remotely how much water is in there. It'll tell us how much height, inches of water, so we can see how much our EC is filling at our pH. And on this side right here, you can see A block, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. Essentially what we do is anytime we want to schedule a feed, we can go into A block. I'm going to log back in. So I can go into A block here, and in A block I can break it down and I can schedule any event I want fed and the duration I want and the time of day I want. So we're able to audit quickly about where it's fed. This is also good for our batch records. We have to give those with every batch we release. So this is a very important software that we use, and there's actually only 2 people that program this. It's me and Devin. I spoke about Lance earlier, who's responsible for the clone and veg. Devin is responsible for all the flower blocks. So Devin's responsibility day to day is to walk through and do room checks. If everything's normal, he doesn't tell me anything. If there's anything that's not right, whether the plants didn't get fed, whether it's too hot, he'll come and grab me. So that's his responsibility. We can go back on the north side now. So we actually harvested our retrofit design rooms last Friday, but I can still take you into the rooms and show you what they look like. So these rooms were harvested on Friday and they're being refilled tomorrow. So when we speak about the retrofit, we got to break it down into 2 parts of the retrofit. Upstairs, you guys seen the heat mitigation system. For us to be able to retrofit the upstairs, we have to embrace the fact that heat mitigation system is a part of the building. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all the LEDs in the building and we're going to add a new panel to them with full spectrum. And the upstairs rooms would essentially look like this. It would have 15 to 16 lights over a 5-foot rolling bench with a dehumidifier, 2 fans on each side, creating kind of like a vortex, a racetrack. And this would be it. What we've noticed is this room doubles the yield of our traditional rooms. Our IPM team needs to work less because there's no plants along the sides, so they don't need to clean the walls. They don't got to worry about any hot pockets or microclimates. So the entire upstairs post retrofit would look like this. Downstairs, where we don't use heat mitigation, we're going to use bar lights. It's essentially the same setup, but you'll see the difference is the bar lights, right? We don't need to mitigate the heat from down here. We just dump it into the facility. So we've seen our average flower return from the traditional blocks around 6 to 7 kilos. We've seen it go from anywhere from 11 to 17 kilos based on this. And what's exciting for us is it doesn't require any more staff. It doesn't require any more materials. It's the same amount of grow bags, same amount of defoliation, same amount of clones. The only uptick in labor we would need is in post-harvest because it's more flower being delivered from essentially the same square footage. So that's the 2 types of rooms that we're looking forward to in the retrofit, the bar light main floor and the ducted lights because the heat mitigation system upstairs.
So Bobby, you said 5 to 6 kilos pre-retrofit, 10 to 17 basically?
Yeah, so in the vented lights, you can see there's about 2.5 to 3 feet between the vented lights. That doesn't get the continuous amount of lights that the bar lights do. So you do see a smaller yield out of those types of lights. So we'll see around 9 to 11, 12 on a really good, like a black triangle. And in this room, we see 11 to 13 out of a grape burger. We've seen up to 17 kilos out of a black triangle. So that would also be scheduled into the production of our sales too. But it's us embracing the way the facility is designed. We can't have the bar lights upstairs because it doesn't work for our heat mitigation.
And so basically, it results in 8,000 to 9,000 kilos of production now to 14,000 to 15,000 kilograms post-retrofit.
Yeah, our batch size would go on the average from around 45 to 50 to around 95 to 115. And no increase in labor other than in post-harvest where there's just more flour.
And so in terms of production costs, if we're at 80 or 90 cents a gram fully burdened cash cost of cultivation now, will probably be around the 50 cent per gram level post-retrofit, which is one of the lowest indoor operations I've ever heard of, if not the lowest.
So we can move over to the post-harvest that you guys seen entering. So you can see kind of what our thought process is when we grow here. We want strains that have a high ratio large flower to small. We want strains that are low labor. We want strains that are easy to do post-harvest in. And we want strains that have high THC. All those things contribute to us being able to have a low cost per gram of our flower. So after the plants spend 10 days hang drying, 10 to 14 days based on if it falls before a weekend or after a weekend, it'll go into one of those rooms I showed you, the support rooms where they hand buck it. We hand buck all of our flowers. We've noticed that using a bucker actually breaks down the large flowers into more small flowers, and for market demands that just doesn't work for us. So that's another thing we do when we select genetics. So this is where our post-harvest trimming takes place. We use the Mobius trim machine. We found it works best. We went through the Centurion. We used the trimmer machine. We use the twister as well. We have one operator. We have two Mobius machines. We have one operator. He's running the Mobius. He decides the vacuum pressure, the tilt, the speed based on how the flower is coming out. And the rest of the staff, or what essentially they're doing is they're looking at a QC. They're just doing quality control. Some flowers, get caught. Some leaf gets caught on the underside of the flower, like crow's feet. They pick it up quickly, manicure it, and it falls into the bin at the end. This is essentially our trim crew. They're able to generally do around 30 kilos a day, which is remarkable for having 6 people on a belt. But again, that goes back to just selecting genetics that have a low leaf to flower ratio. So between batches, they'll clean the room, they'll do a level 1 cleaning, they'll switch out the Mobius, they'll switch out the tumbler and everything and do a clean on it. So we harvest 3 batches, we try to buck 2 batches and harvest 3 batches every week. That's really it. That's kind of the end of the process. We can go to the vault here, and then anything that it goes after it gets sorted and bulk packed, it gets stored in 1 kilo or 2 kilo bags depending on what the sales expectations are, and we store it in here in our vault. So we store waste in here because our sanitation team does the burn in the incinerator, and we store all of our flour here. We have a contract manufacturing relationship right now we do, and that's stored on one side. You can see that we have red bins there. So we grow flower for another LP. We ship it out once a week for them. So that's everything in the red bin. They'll come pick up every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. A truck comes and picks up their flower. We send it out. Anything on this side of the vault is our flower, and you can see we have one batch in stock. It's all gone. Which is a good thing. And I think that kind of ends the tour.